You know, every once in a while, a movie comes along that does more than just sell tickets. It completely changes the game. And today, we're diving deep into a true cinematic phenomenon. The spy thriller that didn't just break records, it absolutely rewrote the rulebook for Hindi cinema. Dhar. Okay, let's just jump right in with the big headline number, because honestly, it's just staggering. Ready for this? 1,253 crore. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the worldwide collection. This isn't just a hit movie. No, this is a number that completely resets the entire benchmark for what success even looks like. So, the huge question is, how on earth did a spy thriller climb to the absolute top of the mountain? Let's kick things off by looking at its journey to becoming the brand new box office king. Now, when you actually look at the domestic numbers here in India, you realize this was not a runaway victory at all. Dhurandhar actually snatched that top spot from another massive blockbuster, Pushpa 2 by, get this, just over 1 crore. That is a razor-thin margin. We're talking about a true photo finish for the box office crown, leaving a monster hit like Jawan way back in third. So, how did it pull off that win? What was the secret? Well, it all comes down to one word: consistency. This movie pulled in over 10 crore every single day for an entire month straight. I mean, that's just insane. That's almost unheard of. It wasn't just some huge flashy opening weekend that faded away. Nope. It was this incredible staying power, this ability to just keep going week after week that ultimately pushed it right over that finish line.
All right, so let's break that massive global figure down. Where did all that cash actually come from? It's time to decode these monumental numbers.
Okay, first up, the big one. The most important number for the Indian market, the net collection. You can kind of think of this as the final take-home pay for the film after all the government entertainment taxes are taken out. And that number, 831.4 crore, is what officially makes it the biggest Hindi film ever by this measure. But before those taxes get taken out, the total amount of money collected from ticket sales, that's the India gross, was even bigger. I mean, look at that. It's climbing up towards that 1,000 crore mark. This number tells you just how many people, the sheer volume of us, went to see it in theaters all across the country. And then you've got the international audience, which, wow, chipped in a massive 272 crore. And what's really wild is that this huge number was pulled off even with a major handicap. So when you put it all together, the domestic gross and those overseas numbers, you land right back at that final, absolutely jaw-dropping worldwide total, over 1,250 crore. I don't care where you are in the world, by any standard, that is a monster hit. And here's that crucial piece of context I was talking about. The Gulf region, is usually a huge, super reliable market for Bollywood films. Dhurandhar achieved this global dominance without even releasing there. That just makes its overseas performance and that final worldwide number all the more incredible. A film this big doesn't just break 1 or 2 records, it leaves a full trail of shattered records behind it. So let's take a look at some of the key milestones on this truly historic run. Now, to really appreciate this next record, you gotta understand an industry term called legs. See, a film with great legs doesn't just have a massive opening weekend and then poof, it's gone. No, it has endurance. It keeps people coming back week after week after week. And Dhurandhar might just have the most legendary legs we have ever seen. To pull in over 100 crore in its 4th week, that's just unheard of. Most big movies are on their way out by then, playing to half-empty theaters. This is the kind of thing that cements a film in the history books forever. And it wasn't just a marathon runner. This thing was a sprinter, too. It just blazed through the milestones, hitting 300 crore in only 9 days. And then, just a few weeks after that, it did something no Hindi film had ever done before. It literally founded the 800 crore club for domestic collections. Okay, so we've seen the unbelievable numbers and the records it broke. But that's all the what. Now let's get to the why. What was the secret sauce? What were all the ingredients that came together to create this absolute phenomenon? It looks like a few key things just aligned perfectly. First, you had director Aditya Dhar's vision, which just delivered this massive sense of spectacle. Then, the runtime was huge. We're talking over 3.5 hours. But instead of putting people off, audiences saw it as an epic, getting your money's worth. Ranveer Singh's performance was praised for being more subtle than usual. But the real game changer, that was the villain. And I really can't overstate this next part. The villain, right? Rehman Dakait, played by the brilliant Akshaye Khanna, he became a full-blown cultural moment. Seriously, he wasn't just some character in a movie. His lines, his signature dance moves from that song Fuck Nala just exploded online. They went completely viral. And you just can't buy that kind of buzz. It's priceless. It for sure drove tons and tons of people to the theaters just so they could see what everyone was talking about. A success story this big almost never ends with just one chapter. So what happens next? Well, as you've probably guessed, this story is far, far from over. That's right. The studio is not wasting a single second capitalizing on this momentum. Dhurandhar 2 has already been made official, and it's been given a prime release date. A brand new franchise has been born. And they are setting the stage for what could be one of the biggest box office clashes we've seen in years. Dhurandhar 2 is slated to release right alongside Toxic, which is the hugely anticipated next film from superstar Yash, who of course you'll know from the global phenomenon KGF franchise. The battle for the 2026 box office has already begun. So all of this brings us to the big, final question. With a mountain of shattered records, a character that went totally viral, and a massive sequel already generating crazy buzz, has Dhurandhar created a new, maybe even untouchable standard for what a Bollywood blockbuster can be?